We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Exactly as it says. We will do it live. Not the ending or the vibes that we wanted going into the series, but either way, welcome in everybody to another episode of Dbacks Dispatch here with your hosts Brett, Gabriel, and Brandon. Like Brandon's doing here. Deep breaths. Not the end that we wanted, but we still did come away with, if you told us at the beginning of the series, a series win over the Milwaukee Brewers. So it was, still a W in all that aspect. But before we kind of, dive into the series, if this is your first time here on YouTube, welcome in. Appreciate having you guys in here. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. It really does help. Check our Twitter. Join the Discord if you haven't joined the Discord as well. And then also make sure you guys are checking out AZ Snakebit for all of our recap articles, and then just in general, like game day threads, game recaps, all that. There's a bunch of amazing content over there by a bunch of amazing people, so go check it out. But I guess the easiest way to get right into it is the D-backs, like I said, did win this series against the Milwaukee Brewers. I should correct myself, the NL Central champion Milwaukee Brewers. We kind of talked a little bit about that, and thankfully the Brewers were a little bit hungover going into game one here. Game one on Friday. Actually, before we even get into game one, I believe we did have a little bit of news. Lourdes Gurriel did join the team, I believe, and was DFA'd for Luis Guillorme right before the series started.
Do you want to rephrase that? Because it makes it sound like you're saying Gurriel got DFA'd.
Gurriel joined the team, and then they ended up DFAing Luis Guillorme. I apologize.
That was scared.
Yeah, no,
what?
We are not getting rid of Gurriel Jr. I apologize about that, but yes, Gurriel did return, and Guillorme, unfortunately, we appreciate what he did for us at Superman play against the Red Sox. Tip the cap to you, sir. If we do go on and win, have a lot of memories, you will be a part of those regular season memories. So, tip the cap to you. But game one, D-backs win 5-1. It was looking like a pitcher's duel early on, but, the D-backs ended up breaking through in the fifth inning. They scored 3 runs on 2 walks, fielder's choice, a single, and a sac fly. That's what we're talking about. No runs off the home run. We love it.
It's not bad.
He had 7 Ks in a row at one point, making the Brewers hitters look foolish. They had a little bit too much of that champagne in their system other than Churio. He reached 12 Ks on, which was a career high, 21 whiffs. Pavin Power, insurance bomb in the 8th. We love Pavin. AJ Puck still does not give a single AJ fuck. And then Justin Martinez, clean 1-2-3, 9th inning, seals the game, 5-1 W. Before we kind of get into the main topic here, I wanted to get just some quick, maybe 30-second thoughts from you two of maybe, what, even if it's a teaser going into the topic. I know you guys see it in the doc. Maybe it's just some quick early thoughts on it. So, Gabe, the floor is yours. What's something that stood out to you in game one?
Brandon Pfaadt, he was electric in this game. He was pinpoint accuracy. He was hitting all of the spots. You can see where Gabby would set up, and he would just hit those areas. Even the times that he missed, he was still leaving them in really good areas and good location. Just, unfortunately, just that one home run. But other than that, 7 innings, just being able to bounce back after the last month that he had was amazing to watch. And obviously all the strikeouts, just racking them up. And I believe it was the first time going back to back since, what was it? Oh my God. Was it Robbie Ray and like Patrick Corbin or whatever that they had 2 back-to-back 11 plus strikeouts or whatever it was? So
yeah,
they were rolling.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, say that's a little teaser. That is kind of be what we're gonna touch on a little bit more here in a second with Pfaadt. But Brandon, is there anything else that kind of stood out to you in game one? I know a 5-1 victory. There could be some things, obviously, that stand out more than others. But what's some other things that may have been kind of in the background behind Pfaadt's start?
We'll get into Pfaadt, but I want to say, because this is kind of weird for me, but Pavin's been on a tear offensively, and he continued it today. I think he went oppo in this game, which I'm like, wait, what? Pavin Smith going to the opposite field? Like, his slugging lately has been on a whole nother level the last 2 weeks. It's the reason why we've been seeing like Jake not play every day. And then they sat Gurriel for a game in this series. It's because Pavin's foisting them to make that decision, which I'm fine with, just because most of the time Pavin doesn't. So props to Pavin. I didn't say that.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Is the Pavin power? It just seems like whenever he's on national TV, he turns into Barry Bonds. I believe Gabe made the tweet. But as I teased earlier, going to topic one here in game one, Brandon Pfaadt, he was stellar. 7 innings, especially coming off of possibly one of his worst career starts in, just in his major league performance, when he got shelled by the Brewers last week at Chase Field. He pulled out an Uno reverse card on the Brewers, and he was just dominant. Like I said earlier, 7 innings, 12 strikeouts, career high on that. And then the 21 whiffs with, I believe it was 14 on the fastball, which to me is just pretty insane, especially that's never, at least throughout the year, like on that pitch right there to the lefty for the Brewers. The sweeper has always been one of his big strikeout pitches. And the fastball, the location, the movement that he had working in this game here was genuinely elite. We talked about it going into the series. The playoffs were starting now in this game against the Brewers, and big game Brandon definitely showed up. We saw him in the playoffs last year, big game Brandon. That's where he got his name. And if these were the beginning of the playoffs, then he really showed it just with that insane outing, and we really needed it. So my question to you guys is, should Pfaadt be a little more aggressive with his pitch locations, or is that usually what kind of tends to get him into a little bit of trouble with the long ball? I know that, in this game, like I said, he was blowing the 4-seam by guys, so I don't know if that's maybe more of the game plan on maybe the Brewers just weren't ready for it, or if this is something that he should continue into his starts going forward. So, Gabe, I want to pass it on to you. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe that the home run was off of the sweeper, wasn't it? Right.
I believe it was a sweeper, low and in, or middle.
Yeah, low and in. It kind of just died. Yeah. So I think at least with the sweeper, if he's able to keep that one a little bit outside of the zone, it's a perfect pitch. But I do think he needs to be more aggressive. I don't think that's what got him in trouble. What gets him in trouble is just the fact that he would leave those fastballs straight down the middle. And with how heavy it was, if you make any sort of contact and it flies out of the stadium. And in this game, he was hitting those up higher locations, a little bit lower in the zone. Like he was just being pretty much pinpoint accurate with those pitches. And it seems to have like sort of that rising action that we've seen from guys like Thompson, but obviously with a lot higher velocity than that. And yeah, he just looked good. What I've noticed this time, what the Brewers were trying to do, same thing that they tried to do against him last time, which is choking up on the bat. And you choke up on the bat against a guy like Pfaadt. That's why last time, a lot of little blue hits going the opposite way, just because they were choking up on the bat. So just trying to make contact, put the ball in play, and that's sort of what they try to do this time. And if you go back and look at some of the footage, at least from there's a couple of times where they showed the Brewers players from behind, and you can see like their hands were a little bit higher up on the bat than normally they would be, rather than having them at the bottom. Because if you had it at the bottom, you get more power, but it's more like a pendulum. You're a little more prone to swing and miss, and it seems that I'm assuming the pitching staff saw that they were doing that and countered it with him throwing the fastballs, because it doesn't matter, if you're choking up on the bat or not. If you're throwing that fastball up in the zone like that, then it's going to be very, very hard for teams to hit it. So it seemed like he made the adjustment. Brewers, I know it wasn't their A lineup, but they seemingly couldn't adjust, or the adjustments that they'd made against him earlier, they're going to have to retool that adjustment again.
I muted myself. Sorry about that. Say the point about the Brewers kind of choking up on the bat a little bit. That's something that I've always seen Joey Votto do throughout the years, especially when he gets into some of those 0-2 counts. And Joey Votto's a really good hitter, so maybe the Brewers just weren't picking up something on him. And who knows? There's a good chance we face the Brewers in the wild card if things settle out the way they are. So hopefully they see him the same way they did in this game one right here. But same question to you, Brandon. I want to get your thoughts. Do you think Pfaadt needs to be a little bit more aggressive with his pitch locations? Or do you think that it's, it was just one of those kind of one-offs where the aggressiveness at times leads to his home run problems?
So I'm kind of on the same page as Gabe. I don't think it was him not being aggressive. it's when he leaves his fastball center cut or his sweeper, it sweeps right into the middle of the zone. Like, he's had a decent amount of just big home runs of where his sweeper just sweeps right in the middle of the zone, like on a tee. For me, the thing that was most impressive in this was his pitch mix. So 104 pitches, 42 four-seamers, 22 sweepers, 17 sinkers, 12 changeups, and 11 curveballs. I really like that balance. Like, it definitely kept the Brewer hitters off guard, and his highest on his fastball was 96. It almost reached 97. So he was rearing it back, and he was throwing it. And like you said, big game Brandon was all ready to go, because he knows, this whole team knows, with these last, 10 games, they knew, all right, we have to go 6-4, 7-3 to really give ourselves a chance, because their playoff spot is in their hands. They win the games they are supposed to, they will make it in. They don't need to worry about someone else losing. If they do their job, it doesn't matter what the Mets or the Braves do. And I think for the most part on this series, they did their job. Now, we will get into game 4, but I thought Fott was amazing in this start. He's in a company with Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling with 7 straight batters retired via strikeout. Like, that's some pretty good company. So good job, big game Brandon.
Yes, I think you make a good point of the I don't mind the aggressiveness and all that. It's just leaving stuff out of the middle. Like, you can't be aggressive in the middle of the plate. You can every now and then. It's just there are times to where he does it a little more than often. Before we move on into game 2 and get on those topics, I want to give a shout out to some of the people here in the live chat. William, didn't mean to give you a scare there earlier. We apologize. Corbin, listen to Mr. Corbin Barrels. Hit that like button. AZ Bubba, OG, I'd love to see you in here. Slaterman, we'll try to get to your comment later if we do have the time, or at least we'll give you a quick answer. If not, join the Discord. We'll answer your question there. The rest of you guys, Red Sox, Justin, Tanner, welcome in. But getting on into game 2 here, again, another W from the Dbacks. This one, the final of 7-4. It wasn't looking too good there in the 5th inning. I know Cattell started the scoring there in I believe the 1st inning with a then. It's crazy to say then because he's been so good this series. A then career tying, a new career high of 33 home runs, a solo shot over the right field wall. Zach Gallen worked a little bit in the 1st inning, escaped the jam, but once again, the 1st inning high pitch count was kind of a bug he could not escape. Perdomo RBI single and a Corbin sac fly made it 3-0. Cattell added on with the RBI double of his own in the 5th inning to make it 4-0. D-backs were cruising. Steve Berthium made to mention as much as possible that Zach Gallen was cruising, and then of course
that's his job. That's his job.
No, I know. I like to bring it up as much as possible. It's just because there are times where, especially when he's like after the 1st home run that he did give up to Joey Ortiz to make it 4-1. He's like, man, that's only his 11th home run in the season. Zach Gallen's been doing a really good job of limiting the home run ball, keeping the ball in the park. And then that's where the main joke of course, Bert has to jinx it, is 2 of the next 3 batters go deep and make this game very quickly go from 4-1 to 4-4. So not the best 5th inning from Zach Gallen. But as I said earlier, a man that did return from the IL and was a sight for sore eyes. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. got the lead right back with his 1st home run since returning from the IL, made it 5-4. Corbin had an RBI ground out, and then Grichuk had a very clutch bases loaded walk, made it 7-4, and that's all that the bullpen needed. Ginky, J Mart, Tea Time, and Puck go 4 innings, 5 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, 6 Ks. So one of the things that kind of stood out to me, at least in game 2 here, Brandon, you pointed out in the group chat, and one of the big reasons why the offense at least was able to bounce back and be the answer backs is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. being back, and it was a very short-lived. We'll get into it in game 4, but this team being somewhat at full strength. I know we're still missing maybe one arm, here and there, and the pitching hasn't been as good. But having Gabby back, having Lourdes back, and this lineup being what we were seeing, especially in the middle of their really hot streak in June to July, had me want to ask you guys: is them being back at full strength give you confidence that they can be a title contending team, or are there still a few spots with this roster, whether they're healthy 100% or not, that might have you a little bit worried? So Gabe, I'm going to give you the floor really quick. What are your thoughts on that?
I guess my main issue with them, I mean, I think this is, for the most part, a great team. I think most of these games, if not all of them, the Brewers starters didn't even pass the fifth for the most part. I think a few of them left in the third and the fourth. So this team is incredibly patient, and they can just give you some really, really long at bats that make you work like crazy. My main issue is always going to be not just the home runs. Like, I think it's kind of a broken record at this point, but it's the fact that they score very early and in bunches, and then just don't score again.
Yeah.
Like today, they went 6 innings, 1 run. I know they put up 8 before that, but 6 innings and 1 run is really, really bad. You can't do that, especially during the playoffs. You have to be able to put teams away, and where you're allowed to put in, a Scott McGuff and a mop up Monty or something like that. Just certain guys that you can use to save the bullpen, to at least keep these games, far away enough that you can be afforded that luxury. And so that's what it is for me. I think they would, for the most part, be a title contender. It's always going to be the issue of the pitching, how reliable that pitching is, because like Zach Gallen, man, that first inning, like he has to get that under control. Like I don't know what he has to do. For me, get rid of the slider. That slider does not work for him. I believe they had 4 hits on it. I think 2 or 3 of the home runs were off of the slider, and he just has to get rid of it. It's his 4th or 5th best pitch that he has. I just think the issue with him is that he's a victim of his own success. He's just he's been so good for so long that he expects certain pitches to be as good as they are in his head, even though on paper, or at least the metrics show, that they're not. So stick to the fastball, curveball, cutter, and changeup. You have 3 elite borderline elite pitches there. Use those and then go from there.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Is this team, whether they're at full strength or not, at times, and we've seen it kind of rear its ugly head the last few weeks, team only goes so far as their starting pitchers, and their starting pitchers are not going to go super far into the games when Zach Gallen is consistently throwing 20 to 25 pitches. Yes, he's not giving up runs in the first, and that was a big reason why they even won this, because if he did give up another run or two, this game and series could look a lot, or like entirely different. But I think it still is a great point you bring up, is that is still something that is a little bit of concern. But same question to you, Brandon. This team being at full strength, do you think that they are genuinely a title contender, World Series contender, and can compete with some of the other juggernauts coming into the playoffs, or are there still a few signs that have you a little bit worried? So the floor is yours.
Oh boy, I think it's weird to say this. Offense doesn't worry me at all. With this team pretty much at full strength, not counting what happened today, I think no lead of us being behind is out of reach. I truly think so. I think they're just different when they're down. Like when they get up early, it feels like they just kind of sit back and they don't take the same approaches at the plate. And it's so frustrating. But this team will only go as far as our starting pitching. Gallen has got to stop the 20, 25 plus first, because when you do that, it's almost impossible to make it to the 6th, because you're asking him then to do like the next couple of innings, like 10 to 15 pitches. Like that's very difficult. Like that's my only thing with Gallen, is like, if you could not do that in the first, then I wouldn't feel like, okay, he's not going to make it to the 5th. And I think because of that, we saw the consequences of that in today's game. Because these guys are not going deep, by the end of the series, the bullpen is just gassed. So they're all these starters are pitching really well. Like Monty, for the most part, today was good. Gallen was dominant for the most part. Take out the fifth inning. Like, just take out the fifth inning. He was cruising there through the first four. So I just need, and I think if the bullpen is not so gassed, our A bullpen of Ginkel, Thompson, Puck, and Martinez, like once we get to the playoffs, I think we'll be able to shut it down.
Yeah, it's got to start with the starting pitching. And with the first innings that we've been seeing out of Zach Gallen, it's been, we were kind of talking about it in our group chat. We're like, can Zach actually get, those 18 outs to actually get through the sixth inning? And if you yourself are actually, kind of interested in a player's higher or lowers on said 18 outs, whether it's a pitcher or it's fantasy points, you're going to want to go to Underdog and take a swing at Pick'em this baseball season on Underdog. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Me personally, like I said, in this one in the group chat we're talking about, we don't think that Zach Gallen would go on the higher for those outs. So I would have definitely gone on the lower. And then even for football, the thing I love for the Packers game today, they're one of the few apps that have players, like defensive players, on the higher or lower for interceptions. I'm a Packers fan. I had the higher on Xavier McKinney for interceptions, third game in a row. Underdog has that for you, so make sure you go sign up. Underdog is super easy to use and even easier to get started. Go to their easy-to-use mobile app or underdogfantasy.com. Sign up with promo code DISPATCH, and Underdog will give you a mystery special pick to use on your first Pick'em entry, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code DISPATCH, to claim your new customer special mystery player pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 years or older, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text Next Step to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. So into game 3, if you did end up using yourself an underdog on or underdog higher lower on the Brewers players in general getting hits, if you did the lower, you would have hit because in game 3, the Dbacks shut out the Brewers 5-0. Big Cockamus Jockamus, a 2-run bomb in the first inning. Seems to be getting back in the swing of things. His first home run since September 10th. Merrill Kelly wins a 15-pitch duel against Reese Hoskins in, I believe it was the first or second inning. And that was probably one of the most labor-intensive at-bats he had the entire game. Jake McCarthy with an absolutely stellar grab in center field. One of the things we talked about, why we would miss Alec Thomas and his defense. Well, Jake isn't Alec Thomas. That kind of play was definitely a little bit of a Young King-esque type snag. So tip of the cap to Jake. Jose Herrera. We really want to give a tip of the cap here to Jose Herrera. We've talked about his offense and all that. First career major league home run, took just over 300 at bats. I think it was 350 plate appearances, all the walks and all that included. But seriously, congrats to him. It was really, it's major for the team when even all the guys in the dugout are refusing to do even somewhat of a silent treatment when they're giving him hugs, dapping him up. So congrats to Jose Herrera on that. Merrill Kelly, did end his night a little bit early, getting cramps yet again. So get this man some goddamn bananas or Pedialyte, something. I don't care. It's getting genuinely annoying. We're not going to fully, touch on him too much. But Corbin becomes the first D-back in team history with consecutive 20-30 seasons. Marte tied a career high in RBI with 92. He then broke it in game 4. Don't worry. Joe Mansupply, a really clean 2 innings, no hits, 4 Ks. He also broke that streak in game 4. Don't worry. And then the D-backs retired the final 20 Brewers hitters on the evening. Just a master class from the bullpen. So, tip of the cap to them. But the main thing that kind of stood out to me on this one, actually not even just the main thing, is there was really not much that stood out because other than the Jake diving play and the bullpen, we won, but there just genuinely wasn't too much for it, and there wasn't too much overarching. And I feel like Game 4 we can have a little more time on. So I want to get some quick, maybe minute thoughts on Gabe and Brandon. Gabe, I'll start with you. What stood out to you in Game 1? Maybe rant a little about Merrill. Game 3. Rant a little about Merrill. Maybe tip of the cap to the bullpen or whatever it is. But the floor is yours. What are your thoughts on this Game 3 victory?
Yeah, just overall, I mean, pretty dominant effort by the pitching. I mean, they blanked this team. They left him just two hits. That was it throughout the whole game. Just 2 hits, not a lot of hard contact. They were pretty dominant. So that was, a great thing to see. Obviously, the issue is going to be Merrill again. Like he mentioned, like, I don't know how much more hydrated I can be. And it's like, I don't know. Like, what are you drinking? Is it just water? Do you need electrolytes? Do you need bananas? Like this training staff, I mean, they should be, try to Nuremberg at this point because goddamn, like they can't keep anybody healthy. And like, I don't know what's going on here. And like, I don't understand it. The whole entire pitching staff fell apart. Now our batters, now Gabby again. So it's like, I don't know what's going on. Like they need an entire overhaul of this training staff. They need to get the people who, I guess the new people that the Yankees got or something. They've been able to hold these guys relatively healthy, but they got to do something like now because we can't keep having these guys just fall like flies. Because I mean, you were talking about a 95 or even 100 win team with the way it was constructed, and instead we're fighting for a playoff spot. The third playoff spot just because of the injuries, and so yeah, it's just frustrating. But this game was good all around. Nothing too crazy, but I will say this wasn't also another game where they, were also held down to zeros. And obviously the Brewers have a great pitching staff. But just some math, out of the 36 innings of this series, they only scored in 12. So about a third of the innings were scored on, and that's where most of those runs came in. And so, again, if you got a guy on base, got a guy in second or third, you got to bring him in. You can't just wait until Cattell to hit a 2-run bomb in the 9th.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of the at least to me, I think the bullpen shutting down the last 20 hitters definitely kind of put a little bit of icing on top of the red flag. I don't know if that's even a proper saying. I don't care. I'm gonna roll with it. Icing on top of the red flag. That was the D-backs offense. Like you said, Gabe, not really scoring too much in some of the innings. They do score in bunches. Again, scoring in bunches, scoring and all that is not bad. But sometimes when we've seen this year, when your pitching rotation can give up runs equally in bunches at times, you gotta keep the foot on the pedal. But Brandon, I'm going to pass it on to you in, kind of, going off of what Gabe was saying, and then even just anything that, he didn't mention. What some things that stood out to you in Game 3? What's something that you wanted to touch on?
Merrill was the mainstay. Like, this was his best start by far. He was cruising. He was dominant. I do want to say that Jody Jackson did say on the broadcast that it was hotter like on the field than it was at Chase Field. So again, it may not be him not being hydrated. It could just be bad luck. It truly could just be Merrill has bad luck lately, and that sometimes it's just a little bit too humid. Drink some, like have some bananas or something. Like because Merrill was like his pitch count was low too. Like Merrill was on track to go 7 easily and have no issues. Luckily, Joe Mantiply realized he can strike guys out. That was interesting. But my big thing on this is just the fact that Merrill was the pitcher that we needed. Like if we get that Merrill and he doesn't have any sort of cramping issues, like it's got to be huge because I truly feel we are playing the Brewers again in about 9 days. Because I'm pretty sure playoffs start, what is it, Tuesday or Wednesday after the season ends? So I truly feel we're playing the Brewers. And to be honest, that's who I want to play. I think they're the best team we have a shot at. Just based on what we did in this series in Milwaukee. Like, for the most part, we were dominant the first 3 games. And it's a best of 3, so who cares about game 4? Like, it doesn't matter. You win the first 2, and it doesn't matter.
I think on the broadcast, it wasn't just that it's more humid there, is that they have no AC. They don't need AC there. And so they just don't have it at all because they have a heater because of the winter months and colder months. But apparently there's no AC in the Brewers Stadium. And so obviously if it opens, right? From what I remember, the stadium opened. So they had it open during, a little bit before game time, during game time. It's going to be a little bit more warm and humid there than even it is at Chase because, so I can see why Merrill had an issue there because, again, you didn't have crampy issues in the other stadiums he's played at. They were more outside, so it could just be the indoor stadiums. Like I don't know, put some ice packs on them, put like a huge fan in the dugout or something. But as great as he was, I do think this game kind of rolled over into the next one because the 8 bullpen had to get 4 outs, so that's 16 outs. And so that's why Torrey had to use Mantiply again, even though he had thrown 2 innings, and then he had to throw J-Mart out there in an impossible situation. So Merrill, whatever those issues are, man, you got to figure them out because we can't just be doing this over and over again and just really messing up games, for the next guy.
Yeah, to me, that was the most frustrating thing is like Brandon touched on is that was one of the most efficient outings we've seen from Merrill. He was locked in. I messaged in the group chat as a joke. I was like, one of these pitchers had a 15 pitch at bat against a hitter, and the other one is over 70 is being removed from the game. Merrill Kelly was not the other one. Like that was insane. The fact that he was still that efficient with that high of a pitch count of one batter, and maybe the Brewers just need to get used to. Hey, I know they're used to the Packers and they're used to kind of maybe all their fans leave the stadium in September and October because they're not used to actually getting far in September and October in Milwaukee. Maybe, it's not too hot in the stadium, what they're used to. But I agree with what you said, Brandon and Gabe. I would rather face the Brewers. Not only do we just seem like we face them better than some of these other teams, going back to the same record, any team that knocks out the Brewers going back to like the 60s makes the World Series. So I'd rather face the Brewers in the first round, knock them out, and continue the trend. But like you said, Gabe, I think the Merrill leaving early and having to go to the bullpen, especially, we'll touch on a little bit, but the D-backs being up 5-0, thanks to Ketel Marte's 9th inning home run. Shocker, Ketel Marte hitting a home run in the first inning or 9th inning. Oh my God, I've never seen that before. Is thanks to this 2-run home run here off of Ketel's bat. I imagine a lot of us would have imagined AJ Puck would have been set down because you can see him right there with his red glove up there warming up. I would imagine AJ Puck would have been sat down. They bring up Yelber Diaz or some other guy to get those final 3 outs. But Puck did go in, get those 3 outs, did, lock it down. But going into game 4, the bullpen was a little bit gassed. And it looked like it wouldn't be too big of an issue, especially after the 2nd inning where the Diamondbacks put up 7 runs on Frankie Montas and the Brewers. And not only was it just them putting up 7 runs on Montas and the Brewers, it was them doing it with like home runs and again walks, doubles. They were hitting the hell out of just Montas. Like they were doing what we've seen. They were taking pitches where they could, and it was this is not the one I wanted. Where is it?
I was about to say, why you showing one of Merrill?
I thought I loaded the clip. Apparently didn't load. Sorry about that. But like that 7-inning, 2nd inning was just some genuine good D-backs baseball. But that 8-run lead sadly did not hold. Jordan Montgomery, while not great, he was okay. He only went 4 1/3, gave up 3 runs. But in the middle of his outing, as I touched on earlier, unfortunately, Gabby Moreno did leave this game early due to injury. The team did come out and say it was his left adductor. I said abductor before. It's 2 Ds, no dyslexia this time, which I believe basically is the same groin injury. It's like an inner thigh. So Gabby did have to get removed with that. And from that point on, whether it was on Gabby and his pitch calling being absent from the game, or the bullpen and the offense just genuinely just checking out, the D-backs blew an 8-run lead. I know this is the one thing that's been sitting on all of our minds. All of you guys probably here in the comments are like, yeah, I've been waiting for you guys to get on this because I want to rant about it. And oh boy, we did too. This is not only one of the worst losses of the season, this is possibly, if not the worst loss in team history. The Diamondbacks have never blown a lead this big before. And again, I know it's the Brewers are still a good team, but it's just unacceptable. It looked like we would be sitting here talking about a series sweep. We kept our 1-game lead over the Mets and the Braves, who both won, by the way, so yippee. But unfortunately, we did not. And a part of that was, like Gabe said, the bullpen being maybe a little bit more gassed. Maybe instead of Puck being available in today's game, he's not because he had to pitch last night. And they go to J-Mart with runners on base, which I believe somebody responding either in our Discord or something about him just not being the best option with runners on base already coming in. He's allowed a lot of inherited runs. So that was kind of a unfortunate turn of events in the end of the game there. Like I said, D-backs do end up losing 10-9. But my question to you guys, I'm going to start with you, Gabe, like normal, is does this loss, somewhat sour the taste of this series win for you? And the second part of it is, does this make you at all concerned heading into the final 6 games here at Chase Field against the Giants and Padres? So I'm going to pass it on to you.
Yeah, I did. Like, I hate the fact that it did, just because I want to be happy about, taking 3 out of 4. Like, if this was a 5 to 4 loss, it would be a little bit different. I'd feel like, all right, it was what it was, but we took 3 out of 4. But the fact that they had eight runs, an 8-run lead, and then they just went into autopilot, especially the offense. They didn't score until the 8th. That was 5 innings where they didn't score a single run. That's bad. That's really bad. And after that, they scored 1 run in 6 innings. Or wait, 7 innings. Wait, is it? 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Yeah, 7 innings. 7 innings, 1 freaking run in 7 innings. Like, that's unacceptable, especially for this offense. Like, I think my brother even mentioned it. Like, when they had finished scoring the 7 runs, he was like, "Oh, they're just going to be shut down for the rest of the game." Watching, yeah, of course. Like, that's it's kind of their MO at this point to just completely crap the bed after that, and it was just so incredibly frustrating to watch because they would just chip away, and obviously the Brewers, they won the division for a reason. They're a good team. But man, you can't do that. Like, the D-backs have to be able to find a way to chip away as well, instead of just scoring a whole bunch of runs and then take their foot off the gas and just be like, all right, well, it's the 3rd inning. We're up by 8 runs. Let's just stop trying now, because that's seemingly what they did. And then the bullpen, I mean, I guess I could, maybe give Torrey a little blame for putting in man supply, but I think we mentioned it before. It's like, who else do you put in? Just kind of not too many options, just because of how many they've had to use, and they're playing 4 games, and they have 3 games coming up. So there's just too many games in the short span of time, and it's frustrating. Then, yeah, I wanted to scream so bad when they lost. I'm like, you can't be serious. And I mean, they had a guy on base, they had a chance to tie, and it was literally one of those things where I'm like, of course, Herrera's the last out. He's the one who kind of.
Why couldn't we have someone else that could play catcher? Because if we had someone else, he would have pinch hit Kevin Newman. But he didn't have a foot. Like, okay, he pinches who's going to catch in the bottom of the 9th.
Him or then, but it's just
Walker, because I think Walker's the emergency catcher.
I think once the lead started to go away, I felt like Torrey should have seen the writing on the wall and should have started putting in guys like Corbin in and just making certain switches to make the offense kind of just pop back into life, but just this was bad. This was bad. The offense fell apart. The the pitching was just terrible, and just the fact that they were able to just let him in like that, and I think Tanner, I know he brought it up earlier that the team needs to learn to take on runs, and the team relies too much on homers. Like if you have a guy on second, you have to be able to bring him in without needing a home run. At that point, just maybe a single or whatever, bring him in. But man, it's just there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of blame. I think Oscar bringing up the two people, Montgomery and Thompson. Montgomery, you have to be better. Get through 5 innings. You can't keep doing these.
I mean, Diaz didn't look great either.
No, but you're also not expecting a guy who hasn't pitched in a week.
Diaz isn't getting paid $22, $23, $24 million to. Diaz isn't a World Series winning pitcher.
As far as I know, Torrey hasn't used him at all since being called up from Reno a week ago. And so the last time he pitched was one time.
I think he used him once the other day, either in this series or in the Rockies series.
Yeah, so I mean, he's hardly pitched at all in his last couple of weeks since he's been up. So, I don't blame him too much, but he's also got to be better. He has a 98 mile per hour fastball. Use it. Yeah,
so you bring up a great point. Is maybe it could have been on Torrey in this one, putting in man supply, but we talked about it earlier in this. In game 2, the topic of maybe something concerning you is just the starting pitching having to go deeper. When you have guys like Monty who are getting paid what they're getting paid, barely even able to go 5, and the fact that we're like, oh wow, he went 4 1/3, great start from Monty. That's terrible. And it could be on Torrey on that, but we were talking about in the group chat. I believe going off of just who else was available in the Dbacks bullpen, there was Kevin Ginkel. He pitched the last 2-3 days. He's probably not available. Brandon Hughes, please no. I'd rather take anybody else in that situation than Brandon Hughes. I'd rather take Joe Mansupply. You had Scott McGuff. Sorry, no, I don't want to deal with that. And then there's Blake Walston, where he was the other one where maybe you put him in, but Torrey, I guess, doing the Torrey thing and planning for the future, saw a 3-run lead, was like, well, if we do go to the extra innings, maybe we need an arm for the extras. We didn't get there because the bullpen was gassed. J-Mark gave up some runs. It was terrible. But, I mean, I don't know, man. There was just part of this game. I was sitting there. I'm me. I'm not a little stitious. I'm not, anti-stitious. I'm superstitious. I was sitting in the living room making clips. Brewers came back 8-6. I was like, oh, damn it. I'm about to get up, turn out the TV, do whatever I can to change the mojo. Grichuk got up. Grichuk got the RBI single. I was like, cool. I'm going to go fold my laundry, put it away. I had to just sit in sadness while folding towels, and you have no idea how rough that is watching your team just punt away a game. It was not the ending of this series that I would have expected. But kind of like what Brandon was, at least in our group chat, in our Discord, he does have a good point. And while technically they could still, I brought up technically could still lose out in the playoffs. They're still in the hunt. There's still a chance. We still won this series against the Brewers. If you would have told me going into this, we take 3 of 4, I'd be happy no matter the outcome. Yes, it sucks that we could have swept. And I know it's a little copium.
It's because the loss is the most recent thing in our memory. Had we lost game 1 and won the last 3, nobody would care. It's what have you done for me lately? And I'm sorry, we need to find out why this pitching staff and these catchers without Gabby is completely different. Like, this game proves it entirely. Gabby comes out, and then all of a sudden, we can't hold runners on base to save our life. Like, I don't have an issue with Jose Herrera. Like, it just felt like the Brewers knew, oh, Gabby's out, we can start being more aggressive on the bases. Like, there has to be at least 2 runs for sure that we gave up because they took an extra base or they stole a base. And that's the difference in the game. This loss...
Literally look at the 8th inning And that's what I hate about the MLB app that said, when I think it was Frelick that stole second base, it said, "Oh, defensive indifference." That's not defensive indifference. Defensive indifference is when you're up by so much to where you're telling the other team, "I don't care if you steal. That run doesn't matter." The D-backs were up by 2 with a runner on third. That runner stealing second base.
So Frelick didn't have a stolen base. It was Mitchell and Adams, and then
Maybe I'm mixing up the names, but whoever it was that ended up being the tying run on that blue pit over Marte's head that tied the game. The MLB,
I believe that was Mitchell.
Yeah, so it was Mitchell. They had that listed as defensive indifference, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
They might have originally, but right now it says stolen base.
Good. Then I'm glad they went through and corrected their mistake, because sometimes, like, I'm sorry, like, I know it sucks, but that's, like you said, that is such a big flaw.
Defensive indifference to me should be if you're up by like 5 or 6 runs, not when it's
literally the game is out of reach, to where like that run scoring from second or third does not matter. To where that run, the Brewers getting to second base, the fact that it even listed that, and this is nitpicking, who even cares? I'm just salty. I want to rant about this part of the game for a second. Like, that's not defensive indifference. That is the catcher sucking at his job, not being able to throw somebody out. Maybe the pitcher's not holding the runner on. That's partially on the pitcher too. But God damn it, Gabby was back for 4 games. Nobody was running. And then I believe Gabe posted the meme of all these people that are like, "Oh, Gabby's gone? I'm about to steal!" Like,
that was great. That was great.
Holy shit.
I just want to answer Tanner's question here. So basically what they said, Torrey's going to give them an off day on Monday due to the travel day, but it looks like, I mean, they have to do some imaging tomorrow, but from what everyone was speculating online is it's not as bad as the initial injury. And I think I saw a quote, Gabby said he may have overreacted a little bit initially.
Yeah, but they're also up by 8 at that point, so they felt comfortable taking him out because it was like, well, we're up by 8, give him the rest of the day off, let him rest or whatever it was. Obviously, it came back to bite them, but this Gabby being out, literally the way it happened, it gave me the exact same vibe as in the fake World Series of 2020 when it took Blake Snell out when he was rolling and they took him out in that 6th inning where it just everything completely changed. You could see like in the Dodgers dugout, there was all smiles as soon as Snell came out because they knew they're like, all right, now it's our time to cook, and they did. That's how I felt like when this game. As soon as Gabby came out, it seemed like the Brewers started, licking their lips and everything, just seeing like
they knew
this is our time to go. They knew we can start running.
They knew. Oh, we get on base, steal. Well, because they have steal. I think they're 3rd in either National League or all of Major League Baseball in steals.
Yeah,
they knew once Gabby's out, just pin our ears back and go.
I mean, they have a couple guys over 30, like over 30 stolen bases. A couple guys near 50 stolen bases. Like
Bryce Terang is 3rd in the National League behind Ellie and
Churio can steal. Like they have a lot of they're very similar to the D-backs in a lot of ways in terms of like their speed and everything. Like so, as the second they had a chance, they were like, all right, now it's time. They adjusted. They changed their game plans. The D-backs did not adjust at all. They went up there hacking at everything, just not putting up any sort of real competitive at bats at that point. And it's just, man, it's this stupid game, man. Like, but I mean, Brandon is right. Like, if this would have happened Thursday, we would all be fine. We're like, ooh, we took, the last 3. It doesn't, the first game didn't matter, but just the fact that it happened today, like, I won't get over this until game time tomorrow. And
right, like tomorrow we're not
able to, at least they have to sweep the Giants. Like we keep saying it, but they have to sweep the Giants. The Giants at this point have given up. Robbie Ray's injured; he won't be able to pitch against them on Tuesday. I believe that's when he was slated to pitch. So take this series from the Giants. Put the future into your own hands, because we can't just keep being like, oh well, hopefully the Braves lose. Hopefully the Miracle Mets, win, and it's like they won't. The Mets just don't lose anymore, and the Braves, we don't want to rely on them because at any point of this, during these next few games, they can't just throw out Sale and what's his face, the lefty, I forgot his name, but they have certain guys back there that can take charge and will these teams into a playoff spot. So stop messing around, stop, losing focus. Torrey needs to slap every guy in in the dugout right now. Just like have them to refocus. Keep scoring. Just get your singles. Force these teams to make mistakes like Perdomo did. And man, stupid game.
I think I kind of like what Tanner brings up here is so tired relying on other teams losing.
Yeah.
After the just even 2-3 weeks ago, going into September, the way that things were looking, the Mets weren't. I think we had a 7-game lead over the Mets and something like that in the wild card race, and it was looking like we were gonna hopefully be able to celebrate even maybe before we left for this final road trip, the Dbacks having a magic number down under 5. But the fact that we're once again for the second straight year, we've won 3 games more than last year, and we're still having to rely on other teams to get the job done. I know I brought it up in our Discord to where if let's say the D-backs go 4-2, and I'm sorry, Brendan proved me wrong. I originally was like, if the D-backs go 6-0 the rest of the season, and both the Mets and the Braves do, which they faced each other, so statistically they can't.
Nope.
But if both of the Mets and Braves did, win the rest of the year, if they didn't face each other, the D-backs would still be out. So thankfully, again, we have to rely on we're relying on the MLB's, a year and a half before on planning these two teams to face each other, because if the Mets and Braves weren't facing each other and they were facing, let's say the Mets were against the White Sox after and the Braves were against the Marlins in the final 3 games of the season, we could sweep the Padres and we would still be missing out on a, playoff spot. It's not fun having to rely on all these other teams to basically do your job for you. And I don't want to be Bill Belichick, but do your fucking job, man. Like, just do your job. Worry about your own thing. Like Bubba says, they better be pissed tomorrow. Like, you can't fuck around against the Giants. The Giants could be on spoiler season. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, this was frustrating. We could have been in a much better place. Still a game up on the Mets and the Braves, and just.
I think remaining schedule wise, I like our chances. I think our chances are better.
I do too, but it's just
we got the Giants and Padres. Mets have the Braves and the Brewers, so we don't know how that Brewers series is going to go. Like, it really depends on what the Padres do against the Dodgers Tuesday through Thursday. Because if the Brewers have a shot at that 1 or that 2 spot, and I think they're 2 games back of the Phillies and the Dodgers for that top 2, they could try hard for it. And then Braves play the Mets, and then they play the Royals. And I don't know how that series is going to go, because Royals have been kind of on the downslope lately. But they have something to play for, too. Like, they haven't locked up the wild card. So for me, if we do what we're supposed to against the Giants, so at minimum, take 2 or 3, sweep would be, just beautiful, because we just need to do 2 games better than the Braves at this point, because I don't think we can hold the Mets back. And to be honest, I'd rather get that 3rd wild card spot and play the Brewers than get that number 2 spot and play San Diego, because their back end of their bullpen is disgusting. Like, when they're clicking, you have 21 outs now. You don't have 20. You have 18 outs. You don't have 27. So, yeah, it's going to be – yes, this loss today sucked. It was disappointing. It was gut-wrenching because it was 8 runs. But for me, it was we didn't have Gab. Like, this game changed completely without Gab. If Gabby was in there and we blew an 8-run lead, I think this would be even worse. But without Gabby, this game changed, at the drop of a hat. Something felt different. And, yeah, Monty, you needed 91 pitches in 4 1/3. No, can't.
Yeah, say it's very unfortunate that the series had to kind of, make it to where we went from, celebrating a 3-1 lead to kind of looking at things in a negative light. But I guess moving on, or actually really quick final thoughts. I know, Brandon, you kind of touched on too. I'll give you, your quick, 30 seconds, because if there's anything that stands out to you. Gabe, really final, wipe the slate clean, get any out, final last, fuck you to the Brewers, or saltiness out to end this Sunday night, even if, again, the Cardinals lost to the Lions, so fuck you, Lions. But floor is yours for 30 seconds on this one.
Yeah, it's just hopefully Gabby is okay now to just come back into the playoffs. We're supposed to get Ryan Nelson back soon, so no more mop up Monty. Just win against the Giants. Hopefully sweep them, but take the series. Try to take a couple from San Diego too, and it's just be in charge of your own destiny. Don't rely until the last day to figure out if you're in or not. And yeah, just figure it out.
Yeah, so just there's 6 games left. You gotta move on. Just forget about this one, unfortunately. But Brandon, same thing to you. Any final things before you want to wipe the slate clean and just act like we didn't get to see this game here on Sunday night?
Go 4-2 and 3-3 for the rest of the season. You do either one of those, and I feel 4-2. I would feel so much better. I don't want our playoff spot to be up for grabs on Sunday. That anxiety, no. Get it taken care of Friday or Saturday. So I'm kind of at this point rooting for a Mets sweep of the Braves, because I think that almost feels like that puts the nail in the coffin for the Braves.
Yeah, say a Mets sweep. To me, it's one of those where a sweep from either one of those teams, I feel like, is what we need, because it puts one of them kind of out of it. And I mean, either way, like we said about earlier, it's Dbacks, handle your own shit. But the best way to handle your own shit is by taking care of a team in your own division that is already out of it.
I was like, where are you going with it?
Oh, yeah. And that is going to be coming up here, and I'll be there at the Wednesday game, so look out for me there. But final 3 against the San Francisco Giants. Monday is going to be Birdsong, 4-5, 4.74 ERA in the season. We saw him in San Francisco last time he played them, so little familiar face. Going up against Eduardo Rodriguez, 3-3, 5.09 ERA. Tuesday's game 2 is going to be Logan Webb, 12-10, 3.58 ERA against Brandon Pfaadt, who's looking to build off his probably best career start of his short MLB career, 10-9, 4.66 ERA. And then in the rubber match game 3, we're going to have, I'm going to make sure I get his first name, because if I didn't get his first name, it would just be very weird out of context. It's going to be Mason Black. It's going to be Mason Black, who is 1-4 in the season with the 5.88 ERA, going up against our ace, Zach Gallen, 13-6, 3.74. So I know, so we kind of touched on it a little bit. But Gabe, what are some of your initial thoughts going into the series? I know Logan Webb, especially in game 2, is kind of who I have my eye on as the big, if we can at least win 2 of 3, that's the one that we, would probably end up losing. But, quick thoughts from you on the upcoming series and final series of the season against the San Francisco Giants.
Well, first of all, that we were saying like handle their own crap and everything. I'm like, damn, we got a dude wipes ad read or something. Like,
I thought he was going with an ad. I'm like, wait a second, is this news for me?
What is this? But yeah, in terms of the Giants series, they probably that Logan Webb is the one to keep your eye on in terms of potential losses. Everything else, I think, we dominated Birdsong too. He might come out, trying a little bit harder this time, but overall, score early, score throughout the games. Give, the starters go 6 innings. Like at this point of the season, don't go 4, don't go 5, go 6, go 7. So that way we have the bullpen rested for the Padres series, and then as well, hopefully for the playoffs.
Yes, it's. I mean, I wish we did have a doodad swipe because that would have been the most generational segue. But hey, once we get there, I'm gonna bring that one back out of the out of the toolbox. But yeah, say it's gonna be a series we at least got to win. But Brandon, some quick initial thoughts from you going into this final series against the Giants.
So I think 2 or 3 is very doable. If Erod keeps I feel like Erod each start gets better and better and better. So if he can take what he did with his last start and continue it in, we take game 1 easily. Game 2, if Fott can limit giving up runs, because that's the thing with Logan Webb is he gets no run support. So if we can keep them to like 2 or 3 runs, I feel pretty confident that we can take game 2. Because I think this team is going to be very angry about what happened today. There's a lot of good leaders in that clubhouse, and they are not going to stand for that. So, like every what I feel bad game they've had over the last month or two, they typically turn it around very quickly. They don't let it snowball. So I think they'll be able to just kind of get back, stay focused. Gallen, if he can stay under 20 pitches in the first, we win. That's all I'm going to say. Because after the first, he cruises very well. So I would like a sweep because then I think we just got to take 1 from San Diego. I feel better about that. Taking 2 from San Diego, little more tough. But yeah, sweep, and then I feel like we should be in by Friday or Saturday.
Yeah. So anything other than at least a series win, unacceptable series sweep, would make me just overjoyous. But something that no matter what is going on, what kind of wins the sports teams are dealing with, whether it's the Dbacks, I know it's out of the season, Suns, Coyotes, RIP, you're still in our hearts. The Valley did end up losing an icon, and it was Al McCoy, voice of the Suns, 51 years. Brandon, I'm going to pass it to you in a second because I know you guys probably have more than me. But he was something that my parents don't talk about the Suns too much, and one of the few times they have kind of talked about it. Him, he has been the first person they mentioned. Back in my mom tells me about her and her college days, listening to the Suns and Al McCoy being, Shazam. I've always heard of the Shazam call, and because I wasn't really too into the Suns. It was always the D-backs. I never really fully understood it until I asked him, I was like, what is that from? And she, gave me the breakdown. So genuinely a true legend lost. But I know you two are a little bit closer to the Suns than I am. So I want to let you guys kind of both have the floor, give your, thoughts, condolences, all that. So, Brandon, I want to start with you, at least on this one. Just you have the floor to say whatever you want to say about the genuine, true, legend when it comes to Arizona sports off the field and on the field.
Yeah. This was gut-wrenching. Al McCoy is the voice of Arizona sports, in my opinion. Nothing against Schulte. I think Schulte is great, but Phoenix is a basketball town. When the Suns are doing well, the entire valley rallies around it. And who was the voice of the Suns since 1972? They're basically early on, it was Al McCoy. And I want to give a shout out to Chris Garagiola for his little nod towards Al McCoy on the Jose Herrera home run. He said Shazam, and I thought that was amazing. That was he also did the Diamondbacks from 98 to 2001. So, yes, it is topical for Dbacks dispatch. The fact is he worked for the Suns for over 50 years. His last season was the end of the 23 season. It's going to be it's still weird when I would listen to Suns games last year and it wasn't Al. It just felt weird. like people don't live forever. It's understandable. It's just when you're so used to, oh, that's great to hear, Josh. Good. That's yeah. Like anyone that you probably know of that is probably a big sportscaster that grew up in this area. I can bet you Al McCoy was a huge influence on them because so many of them grew up listening to him on the radio. Like the fact is he also did radio for the Sun Devils. So like he's touched so much here in the Valley. So it's not that it was surprising because like we all knew the man was over 90 years old. Like it is very sad to see him go. And it was really good to see like all of the tributes from like Matt Ishbia and Devin Booker. Shout out there to Al McCoy. Muted, sir.
Thank you very much. Still getting used to all that. Kind of like what I was saying when I mentioned it is, I never was super big into the Suns. I'm a diehard Dbacks. Baseball is like my entire life. But I never knew who Al McCoy was until a few years ago when I was like, oh, that's the voice of my childhood. Like all those Suns clips on the radio and like the Stoudemire days, the Nash days. Like I didn't know that he was like I said before, that he was the one that started the Shazam. And just, I think PHNX put out a really great tribute to him. Like that, even for me, got me a little teary-eyed, and I really enjoyed the way they ended it by having his final broadcast. And I don't know what Suns fan it was. I don't know if he was meaning to do it, because I know some people can think like, oh, they just wanted to be there for the moment. But that one Suns fan that was behind Al when he was giving his final send-off, like, I can only imagine that's something that he's going to tell his grandkids about, because like I'm going to tell my grandkids about that, and I wasn't even a part of it. But Gabe, I want to kind of let you have the floor, kind of give your flowers, because like I said, you two definitely watch the Suns more than I have. You got to experience much more of Al McCoy and the greatness of him than I did. So the floor is yours. What are your thoughts and just everything on him?
Yeah, so I have always been like an avid radio listener, just in general. I love the radio.
Yeah.
It was one of the first was the first electronic I ever got. I remember I got a radio at the dollar store. I think like on the 4th of July or something, like when I was like 6 years old. That's like one of my earliest memories, just getting like a little radio from the dollar store. And I remember turning it on and looking specifically for the Dbacks team, because I knew at that point there was one, especially because in those days away games were on the radio, and obviously 3TV had the regular the actual home games and stuff. So started into the radio then, and then once the Suns season started, I just started to listen to the radio, listen to Al McCoy, because like my parents, they had a hard 9 p.m. rule for sleeping, and so just turn on the radio, finish listening to the game, and listening to sports year round, hearing Schulte, during the summer, and then being able to hear Al in the fall and winter time. Like it was, some of my favorite memories, and especially there's times where when they switched to cable instead of channel 45, like, listening to Al on the radio so I could figure out what's going on, because at that time there was no internet. I couldn't go and see the box score and everything. I had to find out, what happened either through the newspaper the next day, or I would have to, actually listen to the radio. And so my whole childhood is Greg and Al. So like Brandon said, like I know nobody lives forever. He was in his 90s. He's retired, but still to this day, every time I turn on the radio to listen to a Suns game when I'm driving, it's like, that's not Al. I still think in my head it's gonna be Al McCoy, and it's not. And that's great. I can't remember the guy's name, the two guys that have it now, and they're still great.
I think it's Kellen. No, it's not Kellen.
They're still great.
Yeah,
they're still great. They do a great job. Same with Chris. I love Chris Garagiola, but it's not the same. They just had a certain sound to them, like an older school sound to them, and it's just it sucks. And like I said, it was a little more expected, but still,
John Bloom.
John
Yeah.
Bloom is just when stuff like this happen, you're just like, oh yeah, that's kind of it. Like now, all we have are just archives and things that we can listen to, to reminisce a little bit. But love Al and love my son. Sucks that you can never actually see them win a championship. And
I mean, they have to win it this year. Like, it is destiny at this point.
I saw something online about the thought of, I know we're, a little tangent, it's not Dbacks related, but hey, you know what? We're Arizona sports related as well. We got to respect the legends when their time comes to be respected. And as Oscar brought up in the chat here, yeah, I will fully, like, even just right now, the thought of like us even having to talk about, like, I'm getting even the thought of that. I don't even want to think about that. Like, that would actually break my heart. I'm getting a little, like, I can't even speak about that. But serious tip of the cap. Rest in peace to an absolute legend. Also, I think it's just one of the generations of sports broadcasters. Like, nowadays, Chris Garagiola, these guys, they have good voices, but like the Vin Scully's, the Al McCoys, the kind of guys were like, dude, you could just put on that headset, and whether they're getting blown out or whether they're blowing out the other team, you're like, I don't even care. I'm just gonna enjoy the next 3 hours of these sports. And that's definitely what Al McCoy was. So genuinely, rest in peace to a legend. And hopefully the Suns do go on the season win it. I do hope they leave a empty chair courtside for all their games, roadside and home. I would imagine, I believe he was already added to the Ring of Honor, thankfully. So that's not something we have to do, after his death, which is always an unfortunate thing for any athlete. There's been a few Suns here and there. But a quick little, like side tangent, side segue. We were talking about the Dbacks coming back against the Giants to face them and the Padres for their final 6 games here at Chase Field. Some lesser exciting news about Chase Field that we'll get more into tomorrow. And, make sure you guys, will tune in. We're going to have a town hall, little play on words there. There was some recent news with Chase Field and the doubts that Dbacks CEO and Ken Kendrick have about them staying here. So maybe some quick minute-long teaser before we get out of here from each of you fellows. Gabe, I'm going to start with you. What are some of the things that, our followers and just even everybody can expect to hear tomorrow as we kind of dive deeper into the drama that is Maricopa County and the Arizona Diamondbacks field?
Yeah, it's just, man, if the D-backs move to Scottsdale or anywhere else, I'm going to go to maybe one game a year. Like, I can't do that. But, yeah, tune in because here's the thing. I am not a I forgot the owner's name. How the hell did I forget his name?
Ken Kendrick?
Ken Kendrick with 2 Qs. But, yeah, I'm not a defender of Ken Kendrick at all. But in this one case, I will defend him at least a little bit, because what Maricopa County has been doing is just, it's disgusting. They don't want the team here. They've had actual, state representatives say, Derek Carr can take his team and shove it or go away and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they don't want this team here. And the D-backs are fighting to stay here. The last proposition that they got was horrible. It was horrible. We'll discuss that later. So hopefully everybody listening here, can tune in with us tomorrow, I believe at 5:30 or 6 or whatever, before game time, to discuss this and to rant and let us know, because there's a lot to discuss tomorrow.
Yeah, there's definitely gonna be a lot. And then actually, this is not the last thing, because Josh, thankfully you for reminding me of that, Josh, because I did not want to leave without doing that, because it's always fun to end on just to spoil it for you, some triple play trivia. But Brandon, what are some of your quick 1 minute spoilers for tomorrow's Chase Field drama town hall event that we're gonna have?
Politicians don't care. They just don't. Like, if we lose this team, which I don't think people realize how expensive it is to up and move a team. But if the county doesn't give them a stadium, go move to Peanut County. I don't care, because it's a lot closer for me. But no, like, this whole thing is not good. Not good whatsoever. So hopefully it's not too bad. So.
Oh, it looks like I don't know if he wants to add himself to the stage here. Josh, I know you did, the research. Our man Josh, producer extraordinaire, did make today's triple play trivia. So if you wanted to add yourself to the stage, or at least on the mic here, Josh, the floor is yours. But if not, I can introduce it. Give him a second. He might be listening. No. Either way, I'm gonna play the overlay anyway because my man Josh, he cooks with the thumbnails. He cooks with everything. Enjoy this because this was like this whole thing was great. So as it says right here, which Seattle team was the predecessor to the Milwaukee Brewers? Josh sent me the actual names here because some of them could be possibly a little bit tough to read on there. But we have the Angels, the Rainiers, the Pilots, the Indians, or the Reds. So again, which Seattle team was the predecessor to the Milwaukee Brewers? Sorry.
I think I actually know this.
Yeah,
I think so too.
For you SB Nation, longtime viewers, you probably watched a video on this, so we probably all know the answer. We'll say it on, we'll go 1, 2, 3. I'll let Gabe go, Brandon go, I'll go, and then we'll kind of give our answer, and then we'll reveal because it's actually really cool. Josh does have a little bit more than just an answer reveal, and I want to, give it some shine. So 3, 2, 1.
Pilots.
100% the Pilots. But
yeah. As soon as I saw the logo, I'm like, oh, yep, that's the answer.
Yeah, but Josh did cook here, so I'm going to let his triple play trivia answer, kind of speak for itself a little bit.
The Seattle Pilots were the first MLB team to play in the Pacific Northwest during a time when many teams threatened to move to the West as a negotiation tactic for better terms with stadium contracts in their cities. Both the Cleveland Indians and the Kansas City Athletics seriously considered moving to Seattle right about the same time. Sadly, the team only lasted a year in the league for a lot of different reasons. The Pilots, like most first-year expansion teams, really struggled to win, ending their only season with a record of 64-98. However, the biggest problem wasn't their record, but their stadium. Sick's Stadium was the home of the Seattle Rainiers before they sold it to the city. The MLB had an agreement with the ownership that Sick's Stadium needed to be renovated and have 30,000 seats instead of the mere 18,000 it only had at the time. Not only did they not finish that in time, the scoreboard wasn't ready until the night before the home opener, and the facility's water pressure could only handle crowds of about 8,000 people before it became useless. An interesting fact is that Jim Bouton was a relief pitcher on that team for most of the year, and the journal he kept during that year is what his controversial book Ball 4 is based on. Bud Selig bought the team and renamed it after his beloved Milwaukee minor league team, the Brewers.
That was some fun little, honestly, props to Josh, man.
Yeah.
Josh absolutely cooked. I saw that and I love that. I don't know if that's gonna be an every time thing because again, we're all doing this out here kind of with our own free time volition, and Josh is more than willing to spare his free time to do some absolute cooking like that. But again, if you guys haven't checked out SB Nation, that's one of their older videos. I'm not even a Mariners fan. That Mariners history is fantastic knowledge. It's really sad. That stadium, I believe, is actually replaced with a Lowe's. I believe it's either Lowe's or Home Depot. You could walk up to the front entrances, and there's literally one of those little silhouette metal guys just standing there. And there's probably 90% of the people in that town have zero idea of what that is. It's just oh yeah, cool. There's a baseball statue when they're literally walking through history now turned into a parking lot.
They paved paradise and turned into a parking lot.
Oh man, you're not wrong at all. But again, thank you very much to each and one of you guys for kind of coming through here tonight. I know we didn't do any of the live viewer questions and all that. So if you guys do have any questions about either this Brewer series that we just finished, the upcoming series, or even anything D-backs related in general, make sure you guys either A, follow us on Twitter, B, leave a comment down in the YouTube comments, because again, we try to reply to those as well, or C, join the Discord, because we have a viewer questions chat for that. And sometimes I know it might be a little intimidating leaving a comment on YouTube, where you might be a little more comfortable in a Discord, other people just asking some questions. We're here to answer, so make sure to do that. Again, check out AZ Snake Pit for recap articles and just other great articles in general. And like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and make sure you keep that notification bell on, because we will hopefully be talking, at minimum, a series win up against the San Francisco Giants. But we will see you guys on Wednesday night, hopefully in a little better mood than we are tonight.
Dbacks, dispatch. Yeah, brand new red game, Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home run dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a stat, Caesar man was a plan. Red braces down, Chelsea like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. I got the insights every week's a hit. Tune in, Dbacks, dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. D-backs, dispatch, yeah. Trumpet Brandon, Brandon Gay, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he make the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the bad. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-backs, dispatch, we hit the stage. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-backs,